Okay, let's dig into this. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive.
Hey there.
So, we're diving into quite a stack of sources here articles, analyses, you name it, all trying to capture the AI news from just 2 days, June 5th and 6th.
Yeah, it's a real whirlwind. And, this wasn't just a quick skim. The sources we've got here, they cover a ton of ground subreddits, Twitter, Discords.
Right.
They figure this summary probably saved you, what, potentially hundreds of minutes of tracking it all down yourself?
Exactly. So, our job here is to pull out the really important bits, the must-know nuggets, and maybe some surprising stuff from this little snapshot in time.
Getting the essence without getting lost in the noise.
Precisely. And what really jumps out first is just the speed, the foundational progress happening. Let's maybe start with the models themselves, the actual engines behind all this.
Sounds good. And it's fascinating watching this landscape shift almost, well, daily it feels like sometimes. Like Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro. It didn't just get back to the top spot on the El Marino leaderboard, which, is a pretty key public test for how these things handle real queries. It actually hit a score of 1470.
Wow, 1470. That's a 24-point jump, right? That's pretty significant.
It really is.
And the sources were pointing to actual improvements you can sort of feel, like better coding ability, stronger reasoning, math performance, too. Plus, this really specific kind of cool thing, turning images straight into Excalibur charts. What does that kind of specific skill tell us?
Well, it shows these models are getting much better at not just spitting out text, but complex visual understanding and creating structured output. It's more than just chat.
Right, structured output makes sense.
And, beyond the benchmark scores everyone watches, the sources also noted it hit 82.2% on something called the Aider Polyglot benchmark.
Okay.
Which basically means it's getting significantly better with code, understanding and working with code across different programming languages.
Polyglot, multiple languages. Got it.
But maybe the most crucial thing from an application standpoint, it's reportedly more than 3 times cheaper than the O3 model.
Whoa, hang on. Cheaper and better.
Exactly.
That's, well, that really changes the maths for anyone trying to build stuff with this, doesn't it?
It's a huge deal. But Gemini wasn't the only player making moves. We also saw Qwen releasing new open-weight embedding and re-ranking models.
Embeddings, right. Those are super important for how AI understands and searches through information, finding related concepts.
Precisely. And their Qwen 3 embedding 8B model actually hit #1 on the MTEB multilingual leaderboard. So real strengths across many languages there.
Outperforming even, Gemini's experimental one in that specific area?
Yeah, in that particular niche. It just highlights that, innovation isn't just coming from one place. Different players are excelling at different things.
Makes sense.
And we saw other releases too, like OpenThinker 3.7b, which focuses specifically on reasoning capabilities, showed something like a 33% improvement on a key reasoning benchmark.
So models getting measurably smarter at complex problem solving, at least in these specific tests.
Exactly. And then there are these technical leaps kind of behind the scenes stuff like Nimble Edge's FastPlad, offering massive speedups. I think the sources said up to 554% for certain models.
554%. That's
right.
That can make things that were just too slow or too expensive suddenly practical, right? Real-time possibilities.
Absolutely. Turns prototypes into products sometimes.
So, okay, models are improving like crazy. What are people actually, building and talking about? That kind of brings us to things like the AI Engineer World's Fair that the sources covered.
Right. A couple of interesting takeaways there. There was a conversation between Greg Brockman from OpenAI and Jensen Huang from NVIDIA. And they really emphasized that to keep scaling these models, basic research is back.
Huh. That's interesting. You might think it's all just engineering and scaling up now. But they're saying, no, we need fundamental science again. Does that mean we're hitting some kind of wall with current approaches? Or is it more about pushing way past current limits?
I think it points to needing, fundamental breakthroughs to even enable the next big jump in scale. It's not just bigger versions of the same thing anymore.
Okay.
And there's another great quote from Solomon Hykes, the guy who created Docker.
Oh, yeah, Docker creator. What did he say?
He offered this definition of an AI agent, just simply. An LLM wrecking its environment in a loop.
Huh. wrecking its environment. I kind of love that. It's concise, a bit funny, but actually really insightful, right?
Totally.
It captures that challenge of giving AI real agency and the potential for unexpected results when they interact with complex systems.
Exactly. The loop part is key there, too.
Mhm.
And speaking of building things, this period saw a whole bunch of new tools popping up.
Yeah, like
Lamont Index launched something called the spreadsheet agent. Lets you directly ask questions of spreadsheets, transform data.
oh, neat.
And they showed practical uses, like automating how you pull info from SEC forms.
Okay, very useful for analysts, financial folks.
Definitely. And in voice AI, Bland AI claimed they'd crossed the uncanny valley with their text-to-speech.
The uncanny valley. Making AI voices sound truly natural, not creepy or robotic, that's a big hurdle.
It really is. And then 11 Labs put out their 11v3 alpha, promising even more expressive voices across over 70 languages.
Wow, so voice interaction gets much more natural, opens up possibilities for interfaces, content.
For sure. And developer tools got some love too. DSPy was mentioned, described as feeling like Rails for AI.
Rails, like Ruby on Rails. So a framework to make building complex AI stuff easier, more structured.
Exactly. Helping manage those multi-step AI workflows,
Yeah.
making development faster, more organized.
Makes sense.
And OpenAI enabled direct connections from ChatGPT to workplace tools like Gmail, Google Calendar, embedding the AI deeper into just, daily work.
Which is happening fast. But all this evolution, this integration, it's not all smooth sailing, right? The sources touched on some industry tensions.
Oh, yeah. Concerns about platform risk were definitely there. Startups worrying about getting Sherlocked.
Oh, sure, locked. Where a big platform basically copies your cool feature and builds it right in, potentially killing your business.
Exactly that. Examples mentioned were maybe Granola being impacted by OpenAI or Windsurf potentially affected by changes in Anthropic model access.
Right, classic tech power dynamics, but maybe accelerated in the AI space.
Seems like it. And of course, data privacy is still a major theme. OpenAI was under a court order to preserve ChatGPT logs.
Right.
And they were outlining privacy protections, responding to those ongoing demands.
Standard procedure now, it seems. But amidst all this, the building, the competition, the privacy stuff, the sources kept hitting this one note.
What was that?
That LLMs, the large language models themselves, are becoming ridiculously cheap.
Ah, yes. Ridiculously cheap. That feels like a fundamental shift, doesn't it?
It really does, like a massive unlock. So if we just look back at these 2 days, June 5th and 6th, we saw performance jumps, new tools, industry shifts, and this huge change in the basic cost.
It really drives home how fast the underlying tech and the economics are moving. Keeping tabs on these details. It's pretty essential just to understand what's happening now and maybe get a sense of what's coming next.
Absolutely. So here's maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on based on all this. We heard about these performance leaps, right? Like Gemini getting that much better. And we heard that powerful note about LLMs becoming ridiculously cheap. So if you put those two things together, much better and much cheaper, how might that combo rapidly accelerate totally new AI applications? Maybe things we haven't even really imagined yet in the very near future. Something to think about.